Hey guys, Bison here, DJ main, and I thought I'd like to add to some conversation and discussion to the character, seeing as how he is a dying breed. There aren't a lot of people talking about him, and it's also getting towards the end of season 2, so wanted to express my thoughts and feelings on how he feels going up against the rest of the cast, ranging from everywhere between disadvantage to advantage. So, some disclaimers. This is coming at it from the perspective of first to 2 or first to 3, either as my experience in like 2KMR range or going to locals and participating in either offline or online tournaments, as well as knowing full well, even for the characters we have winning matches up against, at least that I believe is a winning or matchup or a losing matchup, doesn't matter which, you can win or lose against any character on this list. It's just the nature of Street Fighter 6, I believe, at this current point, where the balance is very condensed and also very volatile. Every character can do a lot of damage if they get the right read, or you make the wrong defensive read, etc. and so forth. So keep that in mind as moving forward. So starting towards the advantage side, and again, this is all my opinion, but I put personally Marisa and where's he at? That boy Dhalsim as our only 2 advantage / winning matchups. Reason why, for Dhalsim, he's pretty straightforward, and he mostly because the way this character loses against DJ is usually again the same way that he loses against other characters, where you can just maul him. The benefit of DJ is that his OD Fireball is really good for just sniping limbs out of nowhere, and it also forces Dhalsim to float higher. So he can't just do an instant float, and which changes a lot of how a Dhalsim wants to play. As well as DJ being able to drive rush, well known for this drive rush, DJ. And DJ's drive rush slide, drive rush heavy punch, drive rush back heavy kick, they're all pretty well suited for sniping Dhalsim out of the air, particularly drive rush slide, because on top of whether or not it, if it hits, you can get a full conversion with heavy up kicks. You can drive rush slide underneath his air yoga fireball and then recover in time to anti-air or punish him fully if you don't connect him on the way down of his float. Past that, DJ has one of the best versions of a throw loop in the game, and on a character who does not have really good defensive options, that is supremely optimal. And even out of open stage Oki situations where you get forward throw, back throw, medium sobot, heavy up kicks, all those things, if you drive rush in or just meaty him with crouching medium punch, you don't really have to worry about him being able to reversal you, besides when he has level 2. So all in all, a really great matchup, I think, for a DJ. The only issue and this is kind of going to go for everybody, which is whether or not you start losing the drive gauge war, because a DJ with no bar, he's not threatening at all. So yeah, those are the big things for a DJ against Dhalsim. Throw Oki, great meaties against his character, great ways of dealing with his air approaches. Also, sway forward is pretty good at nullifying his fireball game as well. And you have a great way of chasing him down with raw drive rush and sniping him out of the air with various tools. So as long as you're smart with your drive gauge and you get an opening, on top of knee shot being hard for this character to deal with, you're sitting pretty. Now, as for Marisa, this character is still very hard to control. Her neutral tools are really high committal, and if you're trying to actively counter her, it can kind of go wrong really fast. Similar to Dhalsim, we have answers to some of her usual defensive options. Namely, you can do drive rush crouching light kick and drive rush crouching media punch, as well as drive rush standing light kick. All of these things go underneath her Gladius armor. and all of them leave you plus. So she's kind of forced to try and check you with standing medium punch in that way. On top of her not having great anti-airs, makes knee shot better. And there's also a trick that you can do. I don't know if a lot of people know this. This works against any armor, where if you jump and then you hit your jump button as close to the ground as possible, as soon as you land, you can do an OD reversal. And that will break the armor and then, like, you know, get a full conversion. So because of the way DJ, his neutral tools kind of end out, you know, if you're repping them well and you're playing that neutral mind game well, you do earn a lot of space to do stuff like that, as well as just do your usual, like, heavy fireball and medium fireball and neutral, and kind of take your time to approach her. And similar to Dhalsim, the wall is very much in your favor, right? But, like, this character's defensive options lack against the rest of the cast as well, so nothing too crazy there. Heavy up kicks is also really great at sniping out her Superman punch, and particularly heavy kick, DJ's heavy kick, even though I usually feel it's a fairly slow whip punish, even though it's a good one, it still feels very slow, being 12 frames. It's great for whip punishing Marisa Gladius, just because it just goes so far. You can drive rush for a consistent conversion, even if sometimes you only get drive rush medium punch, crouching heavy punch, and heavy up kicks. It's something, and a lot of characters have to stand a lot closer to threaten that whiff punish. So, and if you're really sharp, you can get heavy Sobat as a whiff punish. I tend to do that when I feel a Marisa is relying too much on just, like, full charge Gladius, right? Because that tends to be part of the mind game. It's like, are they going to do just a regular Gladius and then try to whiff punish your whiff punish? They're going to full charge, so you kind of walk into the active frames, that kind of thing. So for all these reasons, I feel like we win this matchup. Moving on to fill out the even column. As you can see, there's a lot in the even column. I don't believe personally that DJ has many winning matchups besides the two that I've already mentioned. And there are a lot of even matchups for me. And while I'll take some time to mention a few particulars that are different between certain character matchups, a lot of the reason why they're here for the even column in general is while DJ has a fairly even winning chance, I think any character here, regardless of whether or not they're seen as top tier or bottom tier or whatever, have something to make up for that, like their weaknesses, specifically in the DJ matchup. What you guys have to keep in mind, at least the way I approach these things, is DJ's weakness as a character is that he doesn't have the long-range special cancelable normals, right? That being the case, some of DJ's highest rewarding scenarios that aren't super hard reads in neutral or something crazy like a jump in tend to be pecking or hitting someone with standing medium kick, sniping someone with medium sobot, counter poking, or whip punishment. Playing neutral against these characters, a lot of them have buttons that they can whiff freely that can also clip DJ into, like, you know, free drive rush buffers to either, you know, full conversions, and if you ended up blocking it, they get free pressure, right? Like, name of the game, Street Fighter 6 meta, nothing crazy there. So Ryu, Ken, Luke, Chun Li, Jamie, less Guile, Juri, Blanka, and Manon, and a kind of Lily as well. They have some kind of long-range, special cancelable drive rush situation that they can force, or /and, because some of these characters have both, some kind of disjointed, fast recovering, crouching medium type button, right? Like Ryu, Jamie, actually. Just so, like, they can just toss it, buffer, drive rush, cancel behind it, be fairly safe. And even on the chances where, like, you do win that timing where you both press a button at the same time, unless it was heavy punch and you happen to press drive rush cancel, or you were at a specific range and you do crouching heavy punch, And even then, you only get heavy up kicks, and that's a maybe, depending on how some of the hurt boxes and hit boxes and recovery distances can work. You don't get much, but Ryu, if he catches you with crouching medium punch drive rush cancel just by doing it, right? Like, move recovers so crazy fast, he's rushing you down the screen, right? Chun Li was often seen as a bad matchup for DJ in prior patches, which I agreed with. Nowadays, she's considerably weaker and also kind of power crept by a lot of the other characters on top of the nerfs that she already has. And because the meta has developed as well, like, DJ doesn't have to chase her down. And that's the big thing, right? Like, for Chun Li against DJ players, in general, a lot of DJ players try to play very active because his neutral is a little obtuse, a little weird. They try to rely on drive rush heavily, right? But if you end up swapping it around, whereas usually you're the one chasing Chun Li down, if you just find ways to make her come to you, she loses fireball charge. She has to do walk up into range for a crouching medium kick, drive rush cancel, which is good, but she doesn't have as great as a way as like regaining her drive gauge like maybe Ken does. And her anti-airs are just really inconsistent. On top of DJ's like being able to safely kind of chill out against her jump game, and that's a big thing for DJ as well. Is like if you choose to poke, it can be scary because you don't like your longest reaching pokes in neutral and the ones that you kind of gravitate towards make you lose down charge. You know, medium sobot, medium kick, standing heavy kick, forward medium kick. Chun-Li's float herself is particularly floaty, which makes it, one, easier just to use regular back heavy kick, and also easier to, you know, if she's farther away, to use slide. So Jamie has he's one of the poster children for being bottom tier, but I feel like he's definitely a lot stronger in this season. Not like crazy stronger, but because he has a fairly simple game plan. If you play him slow and you just kind of abuse his standing medium kick, it's just really hard to whip punish medium buttons in neutral in this game. And alongside his fast walk speed, he can kind of get into range fairly quickly, and it's also very hard to, like, you know, if you're trying to work around his standing medium kick spacing, he has forward heavy kick, so you're kind of always in range of something, right? And that's not even talking about random palms and all that. But he is Jamie. He has to like earn some of his tools and his damage and all that, so pretty even in my opinion. Luke, Ken, Ryu, all different styles of the same flavor. For DJ, you know, Shoto-esque archetypes, although, you know, arguable that Luke isn't a Shoto, but Luke and Ryu are a bit better at kind of stalling neutral out with either their fireballs or Luke standing medium kick and his new kind of like forward heavy punch. And his standing light kick is also really good too, as well as his standing jab. Ken, heavy punch, Jinrai, like he's much more of a threat to DJ when it comes to spending your drive gauge wrong, because he can bully the shit out of you with that. Even though, you know, Ken, for example, is, in my opinion, one of the strongest characters of the game, this matchup can very easily go either way, because Ken doesn't have like an abusable fireball. So he's, even though his conversions and stuff like that are all great, and his buttons are all great, his neutral tools are also great, and his OD fireball, great, you know, great character. Simultaneously, he does have to interact with you, unless he is spending meter on OD fireball, drive rush, into all that. Guile, he is an interesting matchup, one in which I feel DJ has to be a little more active in certain spacings, but is also free to be more passive in other spacings. So what I mean by this is, if you're anywhere besides like full screen, you do have to chill out or make a hard read into using something like heavy slash to kind of put your hat in the ring against this character, because otherwise he's just going to dictate the pace with booms, which kind of eliminates all your regular drive rush stuff, right? But you also have knee shot, which it does hit faster than, you know, just like a regular forward jump and a heavy punch. So it's something that Guiles have to worry about. And, you know, you can just perfect parry a boom, get a heavy kick. A lot easier said than done, but it's possible. The nice thing is, if you are full screen against Guile, you can be pretty comfortable in chucking heavy slash, because regardless of like what kind of boom or like blade boom setup he has got going on, you can cancel it out with heavy slash. And you could also react to Guile heavy boom setups from afar. It's like something, it's 20 something plus frames for Guile to set up heavy boom, the one that takes up 2 fireball hits, right? And they go for that because, you know, you can do heavy slash versus 2 projectiles for free. But if they do that, DJ being DJ, he can drive rush from almost full screen into crouching medium kick for a punish. Like, if you haven't tried it, give it a try. Like, it works every time. So yeah, it's weird where for Guile, closer up, he does dictate the pace, especially if he kind of gets moving first. But the tables can also just very quickly turn to DJ's favor. So it's very information dependent, because Guile also can't kill you from afar. Like, he has to drive rush in, he has to try to clip you coming in, or do a light sonic boom and a drive rush, in which case, like, DJ's really great at repping OD Fireball when a projectile is like close to him, and a lot of people will autopilot into doing either another projectile or drive rushing in, which can clip people, then you get full combo, taking to the wall, all the wall carry, all that. I definitely feel Guile is more stable against DJ. It still doesn't feel like he straight up loses this matchup. It's fairly annoying though, you have to be really patient. Juri and Blanka are similar-ish to Jamie, actually. You have some slightly differing like answers in all that. Like, you know, if you have down charge and you're standing at a specific spot against Blanka, he should not be able to Blanka ball you. You should heavy up kicks that like almost every time. Because of the range where the light Blanka ball will whiff, heavy up kicks will whiff punish it, and at the range where the heavy one will connect, you'll just anti-air it. But he has crouching medium punch, and he has standing heavy kick, or not standing heavy kick, standing heavy punch, like the big, like falling normal button, and it's just really annoying. Like, his neutral is very annoying, and although heavy up kicks is really good at dealing with Rainbow Ball, the one that goes up and over, Rainbow Ball or heavy up kicks is notoriously for like bad for sailing off in the wrong direction, so that can still be a read on occasion. Blanka, as well as Juri, is Blanka's level 2 just the lead in your drive bar, and you having to like just pray to God that you either make the right read or you parry in the right spots, and then like don't parry in the right spots. So you know, while DJ can get going, and he does have good whiff punishment in the event that like they space something wrong, which is not something you want to base your game plan off of. This matchup for me go both ways, and same for Juri. Juri, it's so hard to outspace her. She's fast, and the jump, I believe it's jump heavy punch, the jump normal that just goes straight down and hits really freaking early. It's so annoying for DJ to deal with. Her crouching medium kick, you know, like, DJ struggles a lot with long range normals, as well as fast characters who can quickly reposition because he's on the slower side, on top of like having a charge dependent answer to either being able to represent a fireball in neutral or to represent an anti-air in neutral. So if they're able to reposition closely and do something, a cross up or some kind of tricky thing with their jump in general, it can be really hard for DJ to answer that. So for Lily and Manon, Lily's a lot slower than Manon, but they feel similar in the regards of like, it sort of feels like you're playing against a wall. The approach for me for Lily is a little different, just because the big deciding factor in the Lily matchup is whether or not she ends up getting win-stock charge. So you have to play kind of uncomfortably close to this character, and it can also be kind of annoying to whip punish her as well. But you can toss away any notion of getting a free knee shot on this character, because, you know, her heavy punch does everything. Or is it crouching heavy punch? You know, the overhead looking heavy punch normal. But if she does get win stock, that's when it doesn't become a bad matchup for DJ, or a bad matchup, I don't think, in particular for anyone besides maybe Zangief. But it does make her approach just so simple. Like, if you if you have bar, like you want to conserve it for those spots where she does end up having wind charge, because then you can rep drive reversal to like just reset things. But then you quickly have to close the distance so she can't get another free charge. So it's quite annoying, and anytime that this matchup, like I lose this matchup, it's because she got wind charges, and like that preceding situation after the dive, they won. And anytime that I win this matchup, it's because I was able to be active enough and make the right like calls as to when to be active in neutral, so she can't just get free charges. For Manon, it's a little weird because of her neutral buttons. Like her medium punch in specific is really good for just kind of clipping DJ doing anything. And you know, this Street Fighter 6, so that medium button into drive rush cancel buffer is gonna come. And she does fairly well at kind of contending farther than that range with, you know, her overhead special, with heavy kick, random sweep to make sure that you're not moving around too much. And because this character is constantly moving forward and pressing buttons, like, it never feels quite right to just drive rush into her unless they're playing like extremely defensively, which in my opinion, I think the way that Idom plays Manon like is probably the optimal way to go. He stands just outside of her footsies and poke range, and he just like knows when to press and plays it very slow. But yeah, it feels very even. It just depends on whether or not you can play neutral and get your openings. Because she's always moving forward, it is easier to snipe her with both either forward medium kick or medium sobot. The issue with medium sobot in particular, -6, and Manon standing light kick is great at punishing medium sobot, and your forward medium kick is slow. So if you happen to make the wrong read, and instead of the Manon like moving forward and then chilling, she instead chose to move forward, then press medium punch and drive rush cancel, she's gonna beat you to the punch most of the time. So yeah, that's the even column. That was the big bulk of the matchup tier list for DJ. Next up is Volatile. Now, this is pretty self-explanatory. Any character that I put in this it feels like you can go, you know, one way or another. It's never a solid display of neutral and, you know, patient footsies. It's just like one character gets an opening and then just runs a train. So at least that's how I feel about it anyway. Now, Kimberly and Honda, and a little bit of Ed as well, they share the benefit of being able to press medium button in neutral, as well as drive rush at a range where it's really hard for DJ to check them. On top of, if DJ wants to be at a better range to check drive rushes, he has to stand uncomfortably close to these characters, which gives them the opportunity to make you block, like Kimberly standing medium kick, Honda standing medium punch, Ed crouching heavy kick, standing medium kick, all the stuff, drive rush cancel, pressure, etc. Right? If you want to contest those ranges, again, DJ's neutral options are medium sobot, forward medium kick, nail them with a whiff punish, right? Like hard commit to a sway to make them whiff, and then sway light kick, which you have to do on a specific timing. And if they happen to drive rush, raw drive rush at that time, you're gone. Or Ed happens to do snatch or OD snatch or whatever, you're gone. So for all those reasons, particularly for Kim, drive rush standing medium punch is really hard for DJ to deal with at a variety of ranges, and it's almost always a threat. On top of standing medium kick into drive rush cancel, crouching medium kick, it's a block string that also forces you to lose charge, because you cannot, like, a lot of these drive rush cancel situations, sometimes you can option select if they go for raw throw, but because hers is a low and it's also plus on block, a lot of times, like, the crouching medium kick after that will just goof you if you try to go for it and hit you free. So that part is really annoying. But DJ Slide is also really good at dealing with her aerial approaches. A lot of Kimberly's like to, you know, whiff the jump elbow and then mix it up with doing like either a normal jump into like heavy kick or whatnot. And slide at specific ranges will either clean beat both those out of the air, or will end up whiff punishing the elbow, because the timing of it is the same. And if she does a normal jump into heavy kick, she ends up getting shot out of the air. If she does the normal jump into the elbow drop, she lands but still has recovery frames, and then that's when the slide connects and ends up being a whiff punish. So that much is good. And of course, meaty jab against Kimberly is phenomenal. Meaty jab is also great against Ed. So if you get that throw loop going, if you get that one opening, get them to the wall for both Kimberly and Ed, and Honda as well. Unless they, of course, they can still just perfect pair you, right? Like volatility for these matchups, because you're going for meaty jabs and all that. Side swap throw, you lose gauge, etc., etc. You probably spent gauge to get them there. You know how that goes. But yeah, it's very volatile. I think Kimberly is much better in this season in particular. So is Honda. And Honda feeds into this because his standing medium punch, he can kind of just do it. Similar to Kimberly standing medium kick. And not only is it plus on block, but it is quite hard to whiff punish. And if you're standing at the wrong ranges and you happen to be slow trying to parry his headbutt, it does cost you quite a bit of drive gauge. Again, as a drive gauge thirsty character already, does not bode well for you to miss that timing. So that's why this can kind of go both ways. But, it's Honda. He has only level 1 as his reliable wake-up reversal. So you can just throw him until the cows come home. For Ed's weird because of his anti-air. His light DP is fairly slow, and it's quite hard for Ed players to consistently have the presence of mind to snipe you and be fast with that anti-air DP. And with that space, if they are looking for that, if you are getting hit out of the air by an Ed DP, then they don't have the mental stack or like the freedom to be checking drive rushes, right? Because they have to be that fast with this character's DP. So you do earn a lot of that space in that way, but he also has some of the most broken buttons in neutral. Like his heavy punch is crazy, forward heavy punch is crazy, medium kick, crouching medium kick, crouching heavy kick, crouching medium punch. All this stuff just ends up like it's really hard to outspace this character. Not to mention Snatcher just can blow you up from any point, and if you happen to, let's say, like whiff a jab or try to do like light feint, you get hit for free. But again, level 1, level 2 is not his level 2 is not a reversal. His level 3 and his DP and drive reversal all gets beat by meaty jab, which DJ has access to in quite a few scenarios against him. So while Ed is similar to Guile in the way of he's more stable, and DJ the onus is kind of on DJ to like find a way in. This matchup is more volatile because, if Ed gets in on you, he also has one of the best throw loop situations in the game. His he's really nasty. He can force a lot of drive gauge out of you as well with like certain level 2 setups and force you to spend meter that way. But he doesn't have Guile flash kick, so there you go. And Rashid is Rashid. There's nothing much else to say besides that. He's not too crazy, and then he has level 2, which we'll have access to twice in one game if it goes to round 3. So it is what it is. All right, moving on to our slight disadvantage column. Not too many characters left here, as you can see. But for here, I put Zangief, I put Aki, I put Terry. The reason why Zangief is such a terrible matchup, I feel, for DJ, is his neutral buttons are really, really hard for DJ to work around outside of having the correct read. And the correct read for DJ is often highly committal, either in terms of resources or just overextending. And Zangief, like his answers to them, to like ways of DJ kind of opening the game up and getting his own thing going, are very consistent and often more rewarding for Gief. Big part of Zangief's neutral that I feel is difficult for DJ is medium punch in particular, and heavy punch charge as something like complementary. But even putting those two like main ones aside, like crouching light kick, standing light kick, medium kick, crouching medium kick, they're all really great. As well as his sweep goes so freaking far. Putting that aside for now, the two main villains for this, as well as his jump early medium kick, that thing hits so low so fast. Medium punch is really hard to whiff punish with DJ's toolset, because you have to stand just far enough away, and if you're going to use something fast like DJ crouching heavy punch, which you can whiff punish with, you end up being a lot of the time too far for any kind of follow-up. So you might be plus 12, and for most characters you could follow up even at like pretty far ranges with either heavy kick or medium sobot. For Zangief, there's something with the way he recovers. I don't know what it is. He just ends up farther away almost every time. So even if you get him with something like heavy kick with punish, unless you did it as close as possible, a lot of times you'll find that you'll drive rush, heavy kick with punish, drive rush medium punch, crouching heavy punch. You're too far for the usual crouching medium punch and a heavy up kick, so you just have to settle for up kicks right off the cuff. On top of, you have to be very fast. And if he just so happened to do heavy punch charge instead, and you're, the way whip punishment works in Street Fighter, a lot of it's just like reacting to a twitch of an animation, and you commit to that whip punish, he armors through, he punches you in the face, he gets all the way up, and it's straight to the Gief Casino. On top of the spacing, where you have to stand outside of medium punch range, still gets clipped by his standing medium kick as well as his heavy punch. His ability to walk into that range, threaten these options, it kind of makes you really, what's the word I'm looking for? Hesitant to commit to anything, because let's say you try to counter poke him instead with medium kick, heavy kick, medium sobot, or whatever. You can get counter hit by his standing medium punch, which easy hit, counter hit confirmed to the rest of the target combo, knock down to Oki, you know how that goes. Let's say you do medium sobot or you do heavy kick and he just blocks it. Well, most of the time you're in range for him to check you with crouching medium kick or standing light kick into drive rush cancel. It just constantly revolves in this way where DJ is poking, and then it can work out for him, but the best case scenario is very hard to come by. Also requires very sharp reactions and a bit of a read. And on the other hand, Zangief is kind of just doing normal Zangief things, but he doesn't have to worry about a low forward drive rush. He doesn't have to worry about a fireball without charge, and DJ is significantly slower. Once he does represent these options in neutral, you always have to be mindful of jump medium kick. It hits so early. DJ's jump back heavy kick has a higher hurt box than normal. 7 frame startup, but simultaneously the first 2 active frames only hit standing opponents. It's the 9th active frame that hits air opponents, so it's a 9 frame anti-air normal with a standing hurt box. And Zangief jump medium kick, especially done early, it will blow you up so often. And God forbid the ranges that you end up standing at for trying to space out medium punch leaves you in range for him to do an empty jump, which makes your back heavy kick whiff sometimes. Mondo does this to me all the time. And you end up in this position where okay, well, maybe you'll try slide instead. Well, slide can also get blown up by jump early medium kick at the specific spacings that you can never tell. The game happens so fast. So you're left in this position where you're never quite sure of how this situation's going to go. You can heavy slash Zangief in neutral to break his heavy punch armor, or OD slash, right? But again, 17 frame fireball for both the medium and the heavy slash. And if he just does random medium punch, he can just clip you out of doing your fireball. If you did medium fireball, he does heavy punch, he can armor through the first hit, clip you. A heavy fireball will beat the armor, but you're committing to a full second animation, right? Like, I think heavy slash is like 50 plus frames from start to finish against a character who has his jump early medium kick. Like, this is not a great idea. So yeah, it's just really rough, and his SPD it's just a black hole. There's no other way of putting it. It's so hard to represent buttons with, let's say, like, your back against the wall. Even if it's not like a fresh, like, Oki situation where, like, he does a normal throw, you know, or he did, like, lariat into drive rush. If he just walks you down and you don't have backward space to work with, it's very easy for him to just randomly SPD one of your buttons out of neutral and just scoop you. So, capping it all with him having the headbutt, which still does a grip of drive gauge damage, and level 3, not being able to walk shimmy this guy, so it makes your Oki a little less effective. It's a bad matchup. it's a pretty bad matchup. I'm tempted to put him in the disadvantage, but that's saved for a special kind of criminal. For Aki, she plays DJ's preferred, in my opinion, DJ's preferred range better than DJ does. Her standing medium punch is 5 frame active. She's really great at checking drive rush cancels. So is Terry, so is Zangief. Also by doing stuff that they would do anyway. That's a big part of this, is like these characters kind of operate in a way that already accounts for what a DJ might want to do to create an opening. She has one of the craziest cross-up buttons in the game, as well as Zangief. Putting that against a character who has one of the worst cross-up anti-airs in the game as well. It ends up not being very pretty. Her light whip is really annoying to deal with in neutral. And, you know, you try to represent a fireball, and because hers just comes out immediately, at worst, most of the time, like, her whip will just clash with yours, with your fireball. Worst in terms of, like, worst for Aki. At best, she'll just beat you to the punch. She doesn't have to charge. It's not something she has to worry about. So if you're moving forward, she kind of has that freedom to rep something like that. Of course, you could always jump on her, but her anti-airs are actually phenomenal for dealing with DJ in specific. Heavy kick, crouching heavy kick, and I believe it's heavy whip, the one that goes straight up. They're so great for making DJ not take to the air, because it's such a huge punish, especially against knee shot. If you use knee shot and she does crouching heavy kick, bro, you are tossed in the air, flying, like, screaming to the heavens. Like, why did they do this to knee shot? And why do they make this character's anti-air so good against my character? Like, it's so rough. And her drive rush is also very hard to check for DJ. So is Zangief's, frankly. Zangief drive rush heavy punch, the best thing you can do is commit to, like, neutral jumping to call it out, because his hurt box is just pulled back so far and his range is so great. But if he decides not to do that, he can just lariat you. But going back to Aki, drive rush medium punch, drive rush medium kick, drive rush crouching medium kick, drive rush forward heavy kick, I believe. They're all really far range. They're all like very active. DJ really struggles with checking drive rushes, on top of he's not even rewarded well for checking drive rushes, outside of very specific situations where, like, he's considerably closer up. His crouching medium punch just isn't up to snuff, and can get bodied by all manners of things because of the hitbox interactions. Medium punch and crouching medium kick and standing medium kick don't end up being very rewarding. Even if you get crouching heavy punch as a contest against someone's raw drive rush, they're often too far for you to get a conversion anyways, unless you have, like, level 1 or something. So that feels bad against Aki. The fireball game, though, isn't too bad. Like, you can play it really slow, and you can always OD slash her OD bubble once it gets to, like, close enough towards you, and it's quite easy to time as well because it's slower. There's a meta to be had there. Like, it's not just a fix all solution to the OD bubble situation. But again, no real wake up reversal besides the slither snake step, I think it's called. So if you get that throw Oki going, a lot of meaty jab situations that option select both her level 1 and her level 3, and you still recover in time if she does do the snake step for you to throw her back in the corner. Counterpoint, if something goes wrong and she happens to jump at like the wrong time, dude, you're definitely in the corner. Given that you're anywhere in near range to either throw her or threaten to shimmy, and she decides to forward jump instead, that cross up button comes out so fast, it hits so low. It's literally a cross up version of Zangief jump medium kick. It's so annoying. So yeah, and of course this character does crazy damage. Burnout queen, and if you're using your drive gauge wrong as DJ, and it's very easy to use your drive gauge wrong as DJ, which is the fucking annoying part, she is gonna make you regret that. It's super tough. It's super tough sometimes. That and her medium kick is so good. That button is ridiculous. She has so many good buttons. And it's very hard to pin her down. But, you know, of course, you could always just get that jump in going, you know, find that spot to lace in that raw drive rush. Be ready for the whiff punish. Good Akis are not going to give that shit to you for free, so there you go. Terry, such a long crouching medium kick, dude. Like, and he's a little faster, I believe, forward walk speed wise, than normal Shotos. He has a godlike crouching medium punch, which he's repping anyway. He has a godlike standing medium kick, which is a much more consistent counter hit conversion into his level 1, which feels like a big middle finger to DJ, because DJ's counter hit medium kick in the level 1 is not as consistent. Terry kind of feels almost similar to DJ, but he can get in your face much more often. You'll see the way Riddles play. You'll see the way that like Boost plays. When they play Terry, they're almost always in your face, and you're always worried about something, regardless of what range you're at. If you're not worried about getting clipped by crouching medium kick, like, you know, he doesn't have a Shoto heavy punch, but if you're not worried about getting clipped by crouching medium kick, which he can get into position for very easily with his walk speed, you're worried about being at tip range for the, I believe it's called power knuckle, you know, where he shoots across the screen. And even if he doesn't get the plus frames, the fact of the matter is that he's ending neutral and he's in your face, and things could, you know, he can just start the scramble like when he wants to quite often. On top of having OD fireball drive rush, you know, big thing in this game. I don't know if you noticed. And this character does so much damage, and his throw loop situation is so goofy. He's very, very good character, and his crouching medium punch and crouching medium kick are just phenomenal for stopping DJ's approaches. So all that to say, on top of like he's much better at getting drive gauge back after spending it than DJ is, because he has those neutral options, because he can do a slow fireball and like walk up behind it. Even if he doesn't press anything, the very act of putting a slow fireball on the screen and walking behind it gets you drive gauge back, which is also a reason why, you know, some following characters in the big disadvantage column are there. So yeah, that's why I feel that these three characters are slight disadvantage. Okay, and the even greater disadvantage. Now, you must be thinking, I made that slight disadvantage sound so freaking bad for DJ. Does it get worse? It gets much, much worse for DJ, at least in my opinion. So, these are what I feel are DJ's worst matchups, personally. Also, side note, let me make a quick little addendum. Bison, I meant to put him in the volatile category for basically all the same reasons as I put the other characters, right? No defensive option, throw / medium kick or medium sobot into forward dash drive rush jab is safe against his wake up level 1 meaty jabs. But Bison, bomb, big explosions, still does really great drive gauge damage on block. But you can also knee shot him. But his neutral and his reward in neutral is better than yours. Crouching medium punch goes so far. Walk forward, crouching medium kick, drive rush cancel, heavy kick, light scissor kick, impossible to outspace against a good Bison. And his medium kick goes farther than yours. Joke. So yeah, this, again, also volatile matchup. But going back. JP, so hard to close the distance. The character is so good at maintaining space that, on top of the fact that they gave him his anti-air crouching heavy kick or crouching heavy punch back, he can just play, you know, with a yardstick the whole time. Like, you have to stay at this minimum distance away from me, and he can just keep it there. And it's so hard to whiff punish his buttons, because if you try to stand at a spacing that you can, it's fairly simple for him to just walk forward a little bit, do crouching medium kick, and then clip you, or start doing the whole ghost game, right? Crouching medium punch is a nightmare for DJ. His crouching heavy punch and his crouching medium kick and his crouching medium punch, they're all just crazy nightmares for DJ. On top of, he has a more effective feint fireball. For whatever reason, his feint fireball also clashes with projectiles, and it's much more convincing than DJ's light feint. Whatever. And if you're in burnout against JP, it's a different kind of hell compared to Aki's burnout situation, but it's still hell. On top of him having great ways of just burning your drive gauge as well, character is a menace. And any neutral option that you rep, JP has a much better neutral option that either gets a similar reward for less risk, or just a straight up better reward for less risk. On top of having spike, on top of the way he plays, again, just naturally gonna counter like raw drive rush approaches. DJ doesn't do great maintaining offense, right? Like, especially with the nerfs that they made to sway. If you sway, or let's say like you end a normal special cancel into heavy slash or whatever, or like medium sobot, you're just pushing this character away from you, which just lets him do what he wants. You're putting him exactly the spacing that he wants to be. Same with Akuma and Mai, which we'll get to in a second. But a combination of his neutral options, his range, his safety, the way he plays and synergizes well with drive gauge, like he can spend meter and then get that meter back immediately, all the while, like, if there's a portal above you, right, like you parry wrong, he teleports in, that's a chunk of drive gauge gone on top of the health. Okay, you choose not to start parrying the portals, he's just gonna drive rush in and mix you up with like an overhead or a delayed low or a throw, or just heavy punch into like feint ghost, which can make you waste more drive. There's very few characters that I burn out against, not from my own volition as much as JP. It's pretty scary and a pretty bad deal. For Cammy, she also plays DJ's preferred neutral range better than he does, on top of being safer, more consistent, and just in general, like, quicker. Her biggest reward is just a straight up whiff punish, whether it's, you know, with a normal into driver's cancel conversion, or whiff punish dive kick into conversion. But she's fast, and because she's so fast, it's much easier for her to position herself at ranges to make a whiff happen, which is why, like, one of the reasons why Punk is so great at it, besides Punk just being as good as he is. The movement speed for both Cammy and Mai and Akuma really help, like, because she walks into a certain spacing, right, along with dive kick. What do you want to do? You want to contest that? You want to, like, react to her walking forward and then press medium kick, heavy kick, forward, medium kick, medium sobot. She happens to jump at that point, right? Like, or you decide to chill. She decides to walk forward just a little bit more, and her crouching medium kick just goes so far. Drive rush cancel, pressure, you know how it goes. In previous patches, DJ used to beat her, I believe, but after the heavy up kicks nerf, it's really tough. It's very easy for Cammy to be able to find herself in the position where she can cause that awkward cross-up position to happen, where you end up, your up kicks go sailing in the wrong direction. And you're never like comfortable enough to backwalk against her because of her movement speed and her crouching medium kick. And if you happen to sway, like at that position where, like if you think about the spacing where you would feel like you have to sway to avoid crouching medium kick, you're in range for a tip range dive kick or for a raw drive rush into something, right? So you quickly find yourself in a lot of like highly committal situations where you're just gonna stand there and take the pressure, hard commit so you can keep charged, so you can deal with her dive kick, or you're just gonna give up the air game because you don't want to take the wrong read and like go for the wrong anti-air in like the wrong situation. It's really tough. Bonus points that like DJ's backdash is actually really good. You can backdash and cause her tip range dive kick to whiff and then heavy kick as a whiff punish. Great Cammys are not gonna make that a consistent thing for you to depend upon. On top of her counter hit jab into crouching medium punch still being so consistent of a conversion and very good at clipping DJ out of some of his slower stuff. Like if you end up doing medium kick, forward medium kick, or medium sobot, and she just happened to be walking forward and press jab, like she's gonna hit you. She's definitely gonna hit you. It's a very, very tough matchup, I think. Akuma might be DJ's worst matchup, possibly. Doesn't help that he's, in my opinion, like the best character in the game. But he has wonky arrow approaches, right? Which DJ can struggle with. Air Fireball, not as much. Slide's really good at dealing with Air Fireball. But Demon Flip is... it's a nightmare. Demon Flip dive kick. Any timing that you do, that he can do with Demon Flip, if you slide too early, too late, it either whiffs or gets whiff punished by a dive kick at a certain timing. It's really annoying to deal with. On top of his Fireball being like probably the best Fireball in the game, and his movement speed being the best in the game, and his forward medium kick, his forward heavy punch, his walk forward crouching medium kick. Like, he doesn't have the longest range crouching medium kick, but his movement speed more than makes up for it. And if you back away out of a certain range from this character at all, you're just enforcing, you're giving him the space to set up his light Fireball into, you know, Fireball traps or drive rush cancel, or sorry, raw drive rush. Let's say if he scored a throw on you, he did crouching medium kick, drive rush cancel, you took the throw, you took the tick throw, and he does a Fireball and a Fireball, and the whole time you're working your way back in against this character who, if you decide to participate in the Fireball war, it's almost like a losing game. He's just gaining his drive gauge back, and he's going to be able to do it again. Part of the why the Fireball war is such a bad idea to play against him is because of Demon Flip. DJ's normal Fireball traps do not work against this character because he can, from full screen heavy Demon Flip into dive kick and just straight up whiff punish you. Like, just straight up punish you for going for the usual heavy slash, medium slash little combo. So you end up having to play it really close against a character who can outmaneuver you, surprise you with multiple aerial approaches, can have you walking into either a Fireball or, at worst, easy to hit confirm heavy punch, forward heavy punch target combo. Destroys drive gauge, he destroys health, he destroys lives and livelihoods. This character needs to get locked up. he's very bad for DJ. And I didn't even mention his godlike crouching medium punch. That move is not of this world. That's Akuma. And I'm sure I'm missing something about what makes this character so crazy. But that's the gist of it. And to round off the last character, it's she's big hot topic for the end of season 2. People are finally learning that OD Fan is probably the best special move in the game, on top of one of the fastest characters again in the game. DJ struggles with fast characters. The reason why she's a problem isn't her regular fan, of course. OD fan is really fast. A 12 frame fireball that can almost from, like, you know, a lot of certain fireball setups, whether it's Ed light fireball or his OD spark fireball setup, Guile fireball drive rush, Aki fireball drive rush, that whole thing, those require certain spacings, they require certain knockdowns, some amount of setup, even if it's easy. Mai's does not require as much setup, specifically with how fast she is and how slow the movement speed on her OD fan is. She can just chuck that. And while OD slash is good at countering OD fan pressure, it's reactionary and you have to have charge. She doesn't. So she's a lot more mobile, and OD fan is just torture. Like literally that's mostly it against Maya's. OD fan and her throw loop at the wall and her wall carry, like she has that sort of Ken feeling where you just get hit once and like suddenly you're there. Although who doesn't at this game? Terry has crazy wall carry as well. But yeah, her OD fan just commands so much presence. Her buttons in neutral are also better than yours. Another like middle finger to DJ is like her crouching medium punch is actually quite similar to DJ's in a lot of ways, but her counter hit crouching medium punch into like another crouching medium punch is a much more consistent conversion than DJ's, which is really messed up. She has medium kick, which can range you out. Heavy punch, not as easily to hit confirm her heavy punch into something. If you're spending your drive gauge blocking and trying not to like get punish counter thrown from the OD fan setup, all the while that she spends 2 bars, goes to town trying to mix you up, and even if she doesn't guess right, unless it goes really wrong for her, she's getting that drive gauge back. So even if she spent 2 bars, she got at least half of that spend back. More so if she ended up winning that interaction. She's really rough. And her jump heavy punch is actually really, really good. Like it's not as good as Zangief jump medium kick or Aki cross up jump heavy punch, but her jump heavy punch, like the fan normal in the air, it goes really, really low. All that to say, pretty bad matchup because she can consistently be active in neutral with very minimal risk compared to you, and then blow you up for it. And that about does it for the matchup tier list. That's just all my perspective that I've gotten at the end of Season 2. Very easily, my experience is colored by the people I end up playing against here on the East Coast. But I still feel quite confident in my reasoning. And not that it's infallible, though, you know, it doesn't come from nowhere. If you guys have any of your own insight, anything you'd like to add to this whole conversation, please let me know. Like, I'm always looking for more answers, even if it's against a character that I'm not struggling against. The one thing I need the most in this crazy game is consistency. So I'll take any edge besides no edge, even if I disagree with it. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you got to the end of this video, I really do appreciate it. I do stream on Twitch. I do also do coaching lessons and all that. So feel free to message me, find me on Discord, Twitch, B_SON, all the usual spots. Appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a great day.